Okay, Wago, this is Mr. Eric, and this is Google Classroom Basics. So, I'm going to make a series of videos here on Google Classroom. I get a lot of people asking me about it. I've used it for several years at this point. It does change a little bit from year to year, but I think the basics are going to more or less stay the same. So, certainly for an overview of what it is and why you may want to use it, it's probably going to stay relevant for several years. Right now, you're looking at my Google Classroom dashboard. Of course, I'm not actually teaching any of my own classes this year, but I do still think it's useful for maybe even, you see I have an esports ones down here. It's a useful place to just get resources, like collect students into one area for an email list, and a way to easily share resources and documents and things between, like, say, something like a group or a club. It could be effective for something like that as well. In essence, what Google Classroom really is just a classroom organization tool that syncs up perfectly with Google Drive. So the benefit of this is, as a Google school like we are, is it takes a lot of the legwork out of it for you in organizing student work and your materials. So for instance, let me show you one of my classes from this past year, and if we go to the classwork tab, you can see that this is the wrong class, my bad. I'm going to go back to another class. So let me go to my other science class. This is the one that I wanted. So if I go to my classwork tab, I've got all the resources and assignments that we did throughout the year in science class. They're all organized under their unit title. And with this forever living here in the Google ecosystem, now moving forward with classes, if I want to reuse some of these things that I've done before, I can very quickly and easily reuse an old post in Google Classroom. So if you teach the same class over and over again and it doesn't change a ton from year to year, my classes usually did somewhat, but I like to see what I did the previous year before, and then I can think about whether I want to change it or not. Google Classroom is extremely efficient in that way. So why you'd want to use it is, number one, it helps you stay organized. Number two, for me, I had an extremely difficult time managing paper assignments in my first couple of years teaching, and so I sought out a digital solution. At that point in time, Google Classroom did not exist, so I built all of this kind of myself in Google Drive, and that was still pretty complicated to manage, but for me that was better than paper. Then Google Classroom comes along and does all of it for you, and boy, does it really streamlines the experience. So again, it's not really like a teaching tool, I wouldn't say. It's an organization tool, but it does help students keep track of things. I love it for when students are absent from the classroom. They can still access the materials that you share in class and the assignments you share in class. If you use due dates, it syncs with a student's Google Calendar and with your Google Calendar, so it does all of that stuff automatically. It has built-in parent email lists, so they can automatically be updated on kind of an overview of what happened in your class the week before. And now even there is an assessment system built into Google Classroom, so you can, through Google Forms, you can create quizzes. And I believe there's a new feature. I haven't had the opportunity to try it because it's new this year, but there's even a feature where it will lock students' Chromebooks from going to anywhere else besides a quiz if you're giving an assessment on it. So it's constantly getting better, and it does, again, just simplify the way you run your classroom, or at least for me it did. Plus, if you're environmentally conscious, or if you're just sick of the copier breaking down, it does make it significantly easier to go paperless in your classroom. I'm going to leave that there for the first video, the initial video of just kind of like why you would use Google Classroom. And the next video is going to be kind of the basic pieces of Google Classroom and how to start a class and get going with it. So that one should be available too in the folder that I'm housing all of these. As always, if you have questions, concerns, you want to implement it, you need some help, do not hesitate to get in touch with me. I would be more than willing to give you a one-on-one lesson. This is just a tip of the iceberg starting point for you if you're interested.